Hello, I'm Rebecca Sillence, a local and family history advisor at Cheltenham Library. This is a short presentation on women's football for International Women's Day. A story most of you won't be aware of, but one we felt should be remembered. 2022 will in fact mark the centenary of women's football in Cheltenham, but also this subject encompasses many other topics such as women in the workplace, changing expectations of women, and the experience of female athletes over the last few decades. On the 5th of December 1921, the FA banned women's football from all of its affiliated grounds and stripped all female clubs of their official recognition. This is the single biggest setback for women's football, and its impact was felt for many decades. The FA felt impelled to express the strong opinion that the game of football was quite unsuitable for females and should not be encouraged. But the following year, the women of Cheltenham decided to rebel. Kick-off for women's football in Cheltenham happened in December 1922. Most players were working-class factory girls, either from the Sunningend Works run by Gloucestershire Aircraft Company or the UCAL Universal Chemicals factory. As you can see from this report, the match was very well attended, with Sunningend winning 3-0. The athletic ground was used as the venue as a way to get round the FA ban, and the match raised money for charity and attracted large crowds. This article reports here on December the 16th, the First Ladies football match took place in Cheltenham at the athletic ground in aid of the Unemployed Christmas Fund. Here we meet the Sunningend team, who have a rather nice stripy kit in homage to a rather famous team called the Dick Kerr Ladies team, who we'll meet later. The captain of this team was G. Smith. Now I hope to do some additional research in the coming year into some of the women that were in this team to find out a bit more about their stories. The Gloucestershire Aircraft Company were really pioneers in the aviation industry. During World War I, approximately 45 aircraft were being made in Cheltenham every week by 1918. Much of this productivity was due to the hard work of local women who were called on to fill the gaps in the workforce. Health and safety at work became quite a concern at this time. Many women who worked and volunteered during the war were exposed to hazardous chemicals that had an effect on their health or their reproductive system, from, as you can see here, coating aircraft wings with toxic chemicals, to the ladies working in munitions production, such as the plant in Quedgeley. Introducing the UCAL team, they look a little bit more St Trinians. I don't think a huge amount of money was available for their kit. The captain was I. Jenkins, and again, we're hoping to look a little bit more into some of the individual stories of these women. UCAL are very interesting because they had a strike for fair pay in December 1919, just a couple of years before this match took place. The chemical workers went on strike for fair pay, and their employers had refused to negotiate with them. The dispute, unusually, was affecting around 300 employees who were mostly female, and as you can see here from the all-female picket line. As you can see on this vacant situations, men and women got paid differently and kept different hours. The women, for example, clocking off at 5:30 so they could go home and cook their husband's dinner. Their union leader declared in an impassioned speech that they might as well starve outside the factory as in it, and their only wish was to secure a chance of living not a life of luxury and ease, but just sufficient bread and butter to keep body and soul together. For many women, earning a living wage had become more important following the First World War, as they now had to fend for themselves or were unlikely to marry. On the other hand, there was a huge amount of unemployment, and men returning from the front lines found a very changed society. The strikers hoped to enlist the moral support of the townspeople in the fight the workers were making for a living wage, and this is something we still hear today. The fight for equal pay and the fight for a living wage are still debates that we're having. The women picketing can be seen here trying to gain support of their male colleagues, but they were mainly met with amusement, dismissiveness, or open hostility. In the end, the UCAL strike was unsuccessful, UCAL refused to negotiate and didn't recognise the strikers as being part of an official union, deeming the strike action illegal. In fact, it cost around 50 workers their jobs. It's likely some of the UCAL football team would have taken part in this strike action, and is revealing about the attitudes towards women in the workplace at that time. In 1923, Cheltenham took on the famous Dick Kerr ladies football team. The match was held at the Athletic Ground, as the first match was, kicked off by the local MP, Sir James Ag Gardner, and it drew a huge crowd. The Dick Kerr team was made up of employees from the English Electric Company at the Dick Kerr Works in Preston, but eventually also included some of the best players from Britain and other countries. The firm actually built 2 trams for Cheltenham in the 1920s, one of which still survives and is looked after by the Cheltenham Trust. It was reported ahead of the match that most of the Cheltenham girls were full of life and keen to come to grips with their unbeaten sisters from Preston. Here you can see one of the Dick Kerr star players, Lily Parr, playing at Cheltenham. In 1923, this team was arguably one of the best ladies' teams in the world. Special train services were put on and a huge crowd attended the event. It was reported good progress had been made with the Cheltenham team, having shown a marked improvement and recently taken on a local lads team, having lost by only 5 goals. A smallpox outbreak also meant several members of the team had to be vaccinated, so they weren't able to practice before the match. Perhaps not Cheltenham on their best day. Dick Kerr won 11-0 against Cheltenham, with one reporter saying the unbeaten team after 59 matches could have doubled the score if they'd wanted to. Ladies' football matches were very well attended, raising a lot of money for good causes, predominantly supporting ex-forces charities. In 1938, the council were approached about supporting a series of international matches in Cheltenham, but attitudes seem to have regressed from the early 20s, when local MP would happily kick off the match, and Cheltenham had proudly welcomed the Dick Kerr team, even holding a celebratory ball at the town hall, with one paper reporting it as undignified to help in the promotion of matches. In fact, a lot of the press quotes at the time are quite shocking, with one stating women are built differently to men, and that women playing football is very unenlightening to say the least. Another said it was nothing short of repulsive, others more flippantly dismissing it as an amusing debate. The final say on the matter in the article we found said, "Let us have nothing to do with it. It would be undignified." However, the match took place anyway, and England took on Wales at the Athletic Ground in Albion Street, with Wales winning 4-2. The match wasn't kicked off by the MP, but by his wife, Mrs. Lipson, and the mayoress, in front of a crowd of 5,000 people. They proved the critics wrong, with reports saying that it was an exciting game. They surprised the crowd with the fearlessness of the players, having gone into tackles in the orthodox manner and headed the ball with a will. You'll see here that the crowd was diverse, men, women, children, a family day out, and the crowd was fully behind both teams. Women faced huge amounts of prejudice and ridicule. Female athletes were regularly mocked and discriminated against by the male-dominated media, and the FA's ban on women's football would stay in place for 50 years. It was finally repealed in 1971 and was a huge setback for the game in England. Another Cheltonian sportswoman of note is Sybil Queenie Newell. She was a member of the Cheltenham Archers from 1905 and won a gold medal at the 1908 London Summer Olympics. She was 53 years old at the time and is still the oldest female gold medal winner at a Summer Olympic Games. The final insult to women's football was published in 1948, Women's Football Discouraged, with Gloucestershire backing for the FA. "Women are in everything," said one person. "Let us keep them out of football," followed by laughter, and that really does sum up the unprogressive attitude that some men had towards female athletes at the time. Turned to Cheltenham in 1989, and today Cheltenham Town Ladies Football Club are the leading ladies team in the county. They formed from a 5-a-side team that started life as Cheltenham YMCA. Their first team plays in the FA Women's National League South West Division, and they practice at the big local stadium, which they share with Cheltenham Saracens Football Club. 2022 will mark 100 years of ladies football in Cheltenham, and we feel this is a story that we should remember this International Women's Day. We hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you'd like to get in touch, you can email us at cheltlocalstudies@gloucestershire.gov.uk, where we can help you with your local and family history inquiries. Thank you.